We have a lot to get to today, and we begin with Arizona Democratic Senator Mark Kelly, who's here in studio with us. Good morning to you, Senator.
Good morning.
A lot to get to. I want to start on what you are seeing as a member of Senate Armed Services and the Intelligence Committees. There are about 10,000 U.S. forces now that are built up in the Caribbean area, either on ships or in Puerto Rico. 3 B-52 bombers flew near Venezuela last week. There have now been 6 maritime strikes by U.S. Special Operations Forces. What is this adding up to? Is the Trump administration planning regime change in Venezuela?
Well, I hope not. Regime change hasn't ever really worked out well for us as a nation where we've supported that, whether it was in Vietnam, Cuba, Iraq, Afghanistan. It doesn't go the way we think, and it puts a tremendous number of Americans in harm's way, the U.S. military, the guys flying those missions now in B-52s close to the coast. Those folks are at risk. Members of the United States Navy now in this operation, which is clearly, traditionally, a law enforcement operation, now escalating to something maybe, as the president talks about regime change. I think this is the wrong move for this president. The Coast Guard has the resources to do this.
To interdict
drugs. Mm-hmm. That's the way this has traditionally been done. And I do worry about the legal authorities or lack thereof that the United States military has to conduct these kind of strikes.
And you've been briefed on what legal authorities are being invoked. Do you think they are insufficient at this point? I mean,
they had a very hard time explaining to us the rationale, the legal rationale for doing this and the constitutionality of doing it when you consider what, you know, the law of warfare, especially at sea. It was a very convoluted argument. It also included, by the way, a secret list of over 20 narco organizations, drug trafficking cartels. They wouldn't share with us the list. So the brief we got was had a tremendous number of holes in it. And they had to go round and around to give us the legal rationale for doing this. And what I worry about, Margaret, are all these young military personnel that might find out, you know, months from now that what they did was illegal. And then you get to, what are we trying to accomplish here? We want to keep fentanyl out of the United States. And I don't know how widely known this is, but those routes through the Caribbean on boats are predominantly used to bring cocaine to Europe.
To Europe?
Yes.
Not to U.S. shores?
That's right. Fentanyl tends to come from a different way, and we do want to keep fentanyl out of the United States.
But to this point, you just said the legality of what's being done. CBS reporting indicates that the commander who was running Southern Command, Admiral Alvin Halsey, was pressured to leave his command post early, just a year into a 4-year post, and that there were tensions with Secretary Hegseth that were leading up to that departure, which Hegseth characterized as just a retirement. You speak to the top officers. Can they, with confidence, refuse unlawful orders without fear of retribution or even losing their pensions?
Well, I don't know about losing their pension. They should. This is more important than any single person. This is about our democracy at this point. And those admirals and generals, they need to speak truth to power. I've had conversations with the most senior members of our military about this specific thing. They cannot be breaking the law. Doesn't matter if the president or the Secretary of Defense tells them to do something. If it's against the law, they have to say no. They're not required to follow an unlawful order. So we expect that from them. I don't know the exact circumstances why the admiral quit. He hasn't said publicly yet. I expect in time we're going to find out more.
But you think he did quit? It wasn't just a retirement suddenly?
I don't know. They could have forced him out. He could have quit. He could have said, hey, you're not accepting my advice. You need somebody else in here. I don't know. I hate to speculate about it. He had a long service in the U.S. military,
37 years.
Highly decorated, and a tremendous leader. I appreciate his service to this country. All of us, all U.S. citizens would be better served if this administration listened to the advice of those military leaders. especially the Secretary of Defense, who thinks he is really good at this. He should have never had this job. He was unqualified for the job. And in my view, the president should have fired him multiple times.
On Ukraine, you've been an outspoken supporter of it. Some of the pilots trained in your state. After President Zelensky met with President Trump on Friday, he said they sort of agreed to disagree on whether to get these long-range missiles, these Tomahawks that would allow them to fire into Russia. Where does that stand? President Biden wouldn't do this either.
Yeah, so I spoke to Zelensky 3 weeks ago in New York right after his meeting with Donald Trump, and we talked about Tomahawks in that meeting. Much longer range, over 1,000 miles, 700-pound warhead. Really good, game-changing. The president said he would consider giving them this weapon system, and then he had a conversation with Vladimir Putin. And I think it's important for people to recognize Vladimir Putin is a former KGB officer. He is a master manipulator. The president has one view, then he talks to Vladimir Putin, and he changes his story on this. Of course, Putin does not want Ukraine to get a longer range missile that could go after targets deep into Russia, beyond Moscow and St. Petersburg, by the way. It can range targets much further. It's very accurate. It's a very survivable weapon. And Putin has a conversation with them, and those weapons are now off the table. Hey, I think Ukraine can handle, if we can give them enough rounds, if we have them in our inventory, and enough launchers. Ground launchers are rather new to this system, something we got rid of for a long period of time. They've demonstrated their ability to operate a sophisticated weapon system like the F-16. They could handle this, and it would help.
Zelensky says they're going to continue to try to persuade President Trump. I have to ask you about the shutdown. The Republican leader, John Thune, has offered to sit down with Democrats to discuss Obamacare, but on the condition that Democrats end the shutdown. He posted this on social media. Can you bank this as a win and agree to start negotiations?
That's what we want. We want negotiations on how to fix. I didn't look at his tweet, but what we need is to fix this skyrocketing premium. They're going to go up on November 1st for people. They can't afford it. People in my state, I've talked to so many people. This woman, Emily, whose husband's a pastor who has 3 kids, says without the Affordable Care Act, she cannot have insurance for her children. They don't get it through his work. So what we need to do is fix this health care premium issue and open the government.
But don't you need to do that before November 1st when premiums go up? Are you going to end the shutdown before November 1st?
I would like to. I'd like to. We should be able to wrap this up this week if they will sit down and have a negotiation with us. The president has spent 1 hour negotiating this issue with leadership in Congress. That's it, 1 hour. They need to get in the room and stay in the room until we can hash this out. The president has said he wants to fix this premium thing, and he wants the government open. That's what we want.
Well, we'll see if there's progress this week. Senator, thank you for your time.
Thank you.